Hello, Karina.
Hello. Welcome to our session. We are going to start in 2 minutes, but before to start, we are going to take a picture, okay? And see our beautiful faces out there on the website later on. So everyone is here.
Right now,
Please.
we only have 16 people in the room. I take one shot now, and then later on, if we have some more people joining, then it would be nice to have one more shot with other people. But if not, then we can just start the session. Thank you very much.
Okay, so you are going to take a picture, right?
Yes, I did already. But right now, we only have 16 people in the room because some are the other session before they haven't finished yet. So I guess we might have some more people join afterward.
Okay, we still have 1 minute left.
So can we take a group photo during the maybe more people joining us?
Yeah, sure. How's it going, everyone? Fine?
Great.
Good. Okay.
Good.
So maybe you can take a group photo at the end of the sessions, expecting more people to come to join our sessions.
Yeah, I think it's better for sure.
Yeah, sure. We can do one more before we finish.
If I get a good photo, we can send it to you and we can use that.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, please monitor the number of people in attendance in today's. Okay.
So yeah, for sure we will have a lot of people in the session. So we need just to wait.
Okay, I see.
I think more than 50 people registered for our
50?
session.
Wow,
15,
that's
50.
amazing.
Yeah, more than 50.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's
I
amazing.
expect more to join us.
Okay. So guys, we can wait 1 more minute and then I start the session. Okay. Because just 1 more minute. Meanwhile, Hari sent inbox survey. If you can like participate in the survey, it would be very nice.
Yeah, I've just sent it again. It's a pre-event survey. So.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Let's start. So welcome to our session, the IOC Asian Perspective on Science and Knowledge Communication. This is the Incubator session number 17. And I'm Karina Higa. I'm ethnobiologist and educator. I belong to Women for Oceans and also I'm part of the Early Career Ocean Professional Program. I work with ocean literacy at the international level, and I will be your moderator for today, for this session. So the main goal of this session is to learn a little bit more of how to communicate effectively when we talk about ocean for different publics. Communication is very crucial because if you cannot communicate well, people will not understand us, and it's very hard to get collaboration if people don't understand us. So that's why communications is really important, and hope we can help you giving some tips about communication. And who organized this session, this workshop was Early Career Ocean Professional in Asia, which is called IOC Asia. And I would like to introduce, to call Dr. Yushi Morioka from Johnstick in Japan to explain a little bit of what is IOC Asia. The floor is yours, Morioka-san.
Okay, so may I share my screens first? Is it okay?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm going to share my screen first. And can you see my presentations?
Yep.
Okay, great. So I'm going to reintroduce our, ICOP Asian networks a little bit, Okay, so my name is Yushi Moriokas. I'm a researcher in Jamstech in Japan, but now I'm a visiting research scholar at NOAA GFDO in Princeton, the US. So I'm very happy and a great honor to join today's session and introduce our activities. And now in the US, the local time is 3:30 a.m. So I'm a little bit sleepy, but I hope I can stay awake during today's session. And also I really welcome your great questions and also some suggestions about our activities. And as you know, the oceans are play fundamental roles in our Asian societies and economic activities. Here, for example, like population size in Asia is like 4.6 billion, which consists of the more than 50% of the total global populations. And also nominal GDP in Asia is around $29 trillion, which explains more than 30% of the total global GDPs. And also our economies, societies are highly dependent on the marine resources through the fisheries, shipping, tourism industries. However, due to the natural variability and also human stresses such as climate change, variability, marine pollution, and also overfishing processes, marine environment in the ocean surrounding Asians has deteriorated recently. So to address these marine issues in the global and also regional scales, United Nations has proclaimed Decade of the Ocean Science for Sustainable Development for the next 20 years after 2021. So here is a list of the 7 ocean goals developed by the United Nations, and also IOC-WESTPAC has coordinated the United Nations preparatory processes and invited the global ocean community to join this program. And so now we are trying to promote this, UN Decade programs for the ocean we want, for the future we need. And here is under this UN Decade program, there is a global communities for the early career ocean professionals called ECOPs, who has a professional experiences with less than 10 years. And these ECOP programs consist of the 5 task teams: youth engagement, ocean literacy, corporate sustainability, monitoring training, and networks. And one of my colleagues in Japan, Karina-san, and myself, involved in one of these task teams. And also we recently established the ECOP Asian networks consisting of the 8 countries, and now trying to connect existing ECOP networks in Asia through activities. So here is an example of the recent activities of our ECOP Asia in 2020s. And in this year's June, we has contributed to the Global ECOP Days event, in which we exchange recent activities and best practices, experiences related to ocean science and technologies. Since then, our ECOP Asian network is gradually expanding across region and countries. For example, one of the speakers, Nanda's, already introduced their national ECOP networks in India. And also even in Southeast Asia, recently ECOP organized the ocean governance workshops in the Southeast Asia. And also today, we have the first sessions on the science communications under this WESTPAC kickoff conferences led by the Harris Business. So to quickly summarize our ECOP activities, ECOP Asia is a regional networks under development for the early career ocean professionals who have a professional experiences with less than 10 years. And also ECOP Asia has played a great roles in developing the regional network of Asian ECOPs across the disciplines, and also share knowledge and experiences about oceans. And also we are planning to organize this kind of an online seminar, workshop, symposium on national to global levels. And also we are now trying to launch our ECOP program website to share our recent activity and also past experiences for among the ECOP people, ECOP Asians. And also, if you're interested in our ECOP Asia activities, we really welcome you to join our network and also contact us at this email address. Okay, thank you so much for the kind of listening.
Thank you, Morioka-san. So to explain a little bit of one of activity we had this year, I would like to invite Lin Wang from Institute of Oceanology at the Chinese Academy of Science to explain a little bit of the review pass survey that we carry out at the VCOP Day. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Karina. I'll share my screen. Can you see my slide? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Lin Wang from China, and welcome to join our Incubator 17, organized by the ECOP Asia. And I think Morioka already introduced what is ECOP Asia and about the global ECOP program. And I will talk about the challenges and opportunities of ECOP Asia. And I will start from introduce a little bit more about the ECOP program of the UN Ocean Decade. Actually, the Early Career Ocean Professionals ECOP program is an endorsed program of the UN Ocean Decade, acting as an enabling network program. It aims to empower ECOPs with meaningful networking and professional development opportunities under the framework of the UN Ocean Decade. And it starts from this year and to 2030. And the role of ECOPs in the UN Decade is actually in the implementation plan. It said that ECOP will be central to the success of the Ocean Decade. And what can ECOPs do for the decade? Actually, I cited this from the Global ECOP program. Firstly, to elevate and strengthen the diverse perspectives of new generations in a collective voice. Secondly, to ensure the knowledge is transferred between experiences and early career ocean professionals. And thirdly, to promote ocean sustainability for the ocean we want. And as Morioka already introduced, we had ECOP Day in June this year. And it was a 24-hour live stream event and hosted by the ECOPs from around the world and from a variety of ocean disciplines. And ECOP Asia also hosted one meeting during the time slot 5. And if some of you joined our event that time, I think you already familiar with ECOP Asia. And during the ECOP Day, the Global ECOP program conducted one survey, global survey, to identify what the ECOPs need and what the ECOPs want for the UN Decade. And they received more than 1,000 responses. This is the results of the global survey. And from the survey results, and what do ECOPs want from the, actually it's first the ECOPs want is funding and also the information on how they can participate in the UN Decade and more job opportunities and communities, etc. And we also conducted ECOP Asia survey during the ECOP Day. And this is a questionnaire we applied. And the ECOP Asia from the ECOP Asia survey, we received nearly 180 responses. And we can see from this chart that most ECOPs, they interested in predicted and productive and healthy ocean. And most of them, more than 70% from the science communities. And I compare the global survey to Asia survey, that we can see that the responses received from the global survey, most of the people from the actually professionals with no more than 3 years since they got their professional degree. And from ECOP Asia survey, most of the ECOP Asians, they are from the actually more than professionals with more than 4 years after they got their professional degree. And about the gender, we can see that it's interesting because from the Google questionnaire, more male professionals joined the feedback, and from the Slido online survey, more female professionals actually give their feedback. And about the awareness of the UN Decade of Ocean Science, more than, I think most of the ECOPs who did that survey, they already know about the UN Ocean Decade. And what kind of communities and network information do they need? Many people said that more collaboration and funding, and also make people more aware of the importance of oceans, and share information, more trainings, workshops, and more research activities. So from the survey results, we can see the challenges we face, that most is the funding and career opportunities. Also, community and networking also is a very important part. And also, we can see that during this in this region, we have also language barrier compared to the global survey, because most of the countries in this region, they are not use English as their native language. So, but we need to communicate in English. So this is a huge barrier in some way. So opportunities, we can see that we can, such as regional ECOP community in Asia, such as ECOP Asia, maybe is an opportunity to connect the ECOPs in this region and develop the collaboration, and also international networks with projects in common, and network with routine annual meeting also is useful for us to engage more ECOPs. And can you see?
Yeah.
Can you see? Okay. And so I also find that next the opportunities for to develop in the ECOP Asia group, I think firstly we can identify what we can do together, and because we are from the different communities, including research, science community, policy, industry, and ocean literacy. And I think if we want to develop the ECOP activities in this area, it's more important to identify what we can do together, and also to mobilize financial resources and then to mainstream the role of ECOP to developing science-based solutions to develop a sustainable ocean, and also contribute to efforts that can help raise awareness and share information. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Lin-san. It's very important to know all the gaps that we have in this region to address that under the UN Ocean Decade. Thank you very much for all information. And just to remind you that this meeting will be recorded and the recording is going to be posted on the conference website. If you have any question, please use the Q&A in the chat box to ask questions for the speakers, okay? Just to explain a little bit of sorry, I'm a little bit lost here. So Hadi sent a link for you guys that is called Ocean Decade Global Stakeholders Forum. This is kind of LinkedIn for UN Ocean Decade, and we encourage everyone to sign up and to join this platform because there is so much opportunity. You can find people in your region to collaborate with. You can find job opportunities or funding opportunities in this platform. So we strongly encourage you to join that. Now, I would like to call Dr. Hari Vishy from National University of Singapore to talk more about the online survey on science communication that we plan for this session. Hari, it's your turn.
Thank you, Karina. Let me quickly share it. So I promise I won't take much time. It's essentially just for the survey, which the link I have already sent. So good afternoon, good evening, good morning, everyone, depending on where you are. My name is Hari Vishnu. I'm also one of the co-conveners of this session. I'll be your chat moderator for today. I'm from the National University of Singapore Acoustic Research Laboratory, and I also represent IEEE Oceanic Engineering Society, and I'm also chief editor of Energy magazine. So Lin Wang Sang already gave you a review of a survey we had taken earlier this year, where we wanted to gauge what kind of audience we have and what they are looking for broadly from the Ocean Decade. And as you saw, a lot of the comments were for funding, which I think we can all relate to given if we are from this region, funding and opportunities. There were also some requests for there was a wish list for training, and there was a mention of a language barrier. So communication does play an important part, and networking was one of the biggest, I think the second or third biggest things that aims were that people wanted to fill up this decade. So all this combined, I think science communication plays a big part in all of this. So moving in, we want to know what you would like specifically in terms of science communication to gauge what it is that you want to take away from this session. And that is why we have this. So I have already sent this link in the chat. Please find the link in the chat, or if you can't do that, you can use this link. Please provide your response on the survey so that we understand what your interests are, and it'll help us guide the session as we go along, or even future workshops. Broadly speaking, we want to gauge the audience and generally what we want to take away, get an idea of requirements for our attendees, and plan future similar workshops. Yeah, so I think we'll give the audience 2 minutes. It's just a 2-minute survey, 2 to 3 minute survey. We can give the audience 2 minutes to fill up the survey while we, and we can wait for that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, let's give 2 minutes, guys, for you.
Meanwhile, if any of you attended the high level, the kickoff session yesterday early, you would have noticed there was another similar another similar survey done where they were asking what are the sectors being represented. So we saw that most of them were from research and academia, but there was also heavy representation from governments and students. So research, academia, student, and government was bulk of it. But there were also a few from NGOs, intergovernmental organizations, and business sectors. And when there was a survey on the aim of the attendees from this conference, it was to learn more about the ocean decade and ocean sciences development as a region. So people are still keen to understand more about the ocean decade, but now people have started getting involved more in terms of developing network for future actions and to develop joining the proposals itself. So I think this workshop is a step in that direction. So that is just a recap of what we had yesterday, but I'll get back to our survey. Let's give it maybe a couple of minutes more, and then we can start with our speakers.
Sure.
So the responses have started rolling in. I think we can do a quick review of how the responses look so far and then move on.
If you already have filled up the survey, you can just greeting, say hi, I'm from Japan, I'm from, yeah, so you can say hello to us and say your name and your institution and where are you from on the chat box.
Indeed. And in fact, we
Yes.
are seeing a snapshot of that already. We have a wide variety of participation from Singapore, India, Korea, Brazil, Japan, a couple from Japan. We have from Malaysia, South Korea, Indonesia, Philippines. So that's quite a bit of geographic diversity, mostly from Asia, the responses so far, but I think people are still filling in. In terms of sector of the attendees, I think, again, we have mostly representation from research, teaching, and students, but we also have representation from government agencies. So that's good to have, and I think that adds some diversity to our discussion today. Looking at what level our audience is comfortable with the following aspects of science communication. In terms of social media, I think we have people from around from all sorts of situations. So we have people who are less comfortable all the way until people who are more comfortable. So it's fairly evenly divided there. In terms of communicating with students, I think most people are very comfortable and some are somewhat comfortable. And I think that reflects the fact that our audience are generally from academia or students or even research. Communicating with policymakers, it seems like a lot of people want to get some idea on this, because about 1/3 of the people say they are less comfortable communicating with policymakers. And we do have a couple of talks addressing that, so that's good to know. We also have a few who are neutral, so again, some room for some improvement there. There are a few who say they are comfortable speaking with policymakers. Again, a similar situation communicating with industry and private sectors. We have 1/3 people who say they are less comfortable, 1/3 who say 5% who say they are least comfortable, and a large chunk who say they are neutral. So again, some scope, I think, for our attendees who are looking to gain some insights there. In terms of communicating with academics, 75% say they are most comfortable. Again, I think given our background. And communicating with local public, there are people from around the spectrum. 1/4 say they are most comfortable, but a large chunk are somewhat comfortable. There's 1/3 who are either neutral or less comfortable. So that's good to know. Good. We have talks from trying to address each of these gaps, talking to students, policymakers, public, private sector, public sector, all of that. hope you take away what you are looking for from this workshop. Looking at what kind of science communication the attendees would like to develop during the ongoing decade, most of them say they want to look at communicating with policymakers and communicate with the local public. And I think that's what we saw in the earlier results too. A lot of them want to look at communicating with industry and private sector also, but a large chunk of them still want to look at communicating with students. So I think people are still looking to improve their communication, and that's always a good thing. In terms of specific skills, the skills that I think most people are looking at is speaking. There's also interest in writing long format blogs or writing short format tweets or in designing graphics. And a smaller number of them want to look at making podcasts or videos. And finally, in terms of what social media channels that the attendees look out for information, I think most of them are looking at Twitter. Well, I relate to that. I look out on Twitter and Facebook too. But there are also many who look on Instagram and LinkedIn, and a few on Slack and other channels. Again, this is not a complete report so far. I'm sure there are still more attendees filling up as we go along. So probably the numbers will change by the end of it. Finally, it seems most of our attendees prefer news digests for short bite-sized updates of science. Not surprising given the fast world we live in. But I think many of them want to also look at Facebook posts and short highlight podcasts, and a fewer number at LinkedIn posts. For long discussions, most of them prefer seminars and workshops. So here we all are at one of these workshops. Many of them also look out for articles and blog posts, and it seems a fewer number for podcasts. So thank you all for participating. And if you haven't participated, please go and check out the link anytime when you find time during a break or when you catch a breather. It helps us understand what you want and probably improve and target our audience better in the future. Thank you. The floor is yours, Karina.
Thank you very much, Hari. And now to start with our first speaker. First of all, if you have any question, please use the chat box. And to start with our first speaker, I would like to invite Dr. Nobuko Nakamura from JANSTIC in Japan. So today she's going to talk about development of teaching materials using corals, annual rings in small islands in developing states. So welcome, Nakamura-san, and thank you for being here with us. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Can I catch me? And
yeah,
I share my slide. Can you watch?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I am Nobuko Nakamura. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak in this session. Firstly, let me introduce myself. I've had 3 positions in my career: science researcher, teacher, and ocean policy researcher. As a geoscience researcher, I worked on reconstructing past climate and environment using coral annual rings. I taught natural science in junior high school and high school, and now teach geology at university. In addition, for the past 5 years, I've looked at the field of ocean policy. When I studied climate change issues through coral research, I wanted to see how we could make a real change in society. In those 3 positions, I had contact with various stakeholders, including students, citizens, and government people, and experienced the role of science communicator. Today, I'd like to talk about 2 examples. The first is about the Ocean Education Support Program in Japan. The second is my activity in informing the local people and the children in Tuvalu of the scientific results of my local coral studies. First, I will introduce the Ocean Education Pioneer School Program, which supports ocean educational activity in Japanese school. This is a joint effort by 3 organizations: the Nippon Foundation, the Ocean Policy Research Institute, OPRI of Sasakawa Peace Foundation, and the Center for Ocean Literacy and Education, the University of Tokyo. I was a research fellow at OPRI until May, working on this project. There are not many opportunities to learn about the ocean as part of the curriculum in Japanese schools. This is why we are providing funding for each school to develop a unique curriculum related to the ocean. The next example is my activity in informing the local people and the children in Tuvalu of the scientific results of my local coral studies. I have created a simple animation based on the study of coral annual rings, and will show it to local communities and schools in Tuvalu. The goal of this activity is to make people aware of the reality of coral reefs on their own island and encourage them to think about the environment and climate change measures. This animation is based on the Tuvalu research project as one of Japan's ODA called SATREPS. From 2008 to 2014, the University of Tokyo Group led this project called Ecological Engineering Sustainability of Tuvalu Against Sea Level Rise, and I joined it. Tuvalu in the South Pacific is a coral atoll country that is vulnerable to climate change, especially sea level rise, and is often reported as a symbol of climate change crisis. On the other hand, many of atoll islands are suffering from severe local pollution as well as climate change, and their coral reef ecosystem are being degraded. The problem is a complex mix of global climate change and local pollution. During this project, coral annual ring samples were bored in 2009. Small island developing states such as Tuvalu do not have long-term environmental monitoring data. So geological samples such as coral rings are useful in understanding the timing and process of pollution and to reconstruct past coral reef environments. I continued the analysis of this coral core for a long time, and the scientific paper was published last year. The coral annual rings obtained from Fongafale Island, the capital of Tuvalu, covering the period 1940s to 2009, show the very severe effects of human activity as black contaminants since 1990s. Waste and domestic sewage getting into the lagoon cause sludge and algae proliferation. Currently, the coral around this area has disappeared and has been replaced by a forest of large brown algae, sargasso. The reef creatures like coral grouper and foraminifera are island components, so their habitat degradation means reducing the resilience of the island against sea level rise. Tuvaluan people know the threat of global climate change and sea level rise, but they do not notice or forget that the domestic pollution also affects the island. The healthy coral reef environment is essential protection against coastal erosion and submergence. What is the best way to inform the people about the reality of the coral reef situation on their own island? Therefore, I'm creating an educational animation using the Tsubaru coral ring chronology. Coral annual rings are a visible time scale, which is an excellent educational material to effectively teach them about the past. I created my handmade trial animation. I'd like you to watch it. The target audience is Tuvaluan junior high school students and the general public. The most important point and the most difficult to communicate is to put difficult scientific technical terms in a simple and accurate way. Communicate as a science, not as a political message. I believe it will reach people better that way. I'm currently having various people watch this and collecting their comments. The next step is to have people in Tuvalu actually see it. Through the Consul General of Tuvalu, I'm asking the Tuvalu ambassador and Tuvalu's Olympic Committee members involved in this summer's Tokyo Olympics and other key people in the region to help me. It would be great if I could get the local community and the school to take it up. And this will be a good start. I hope that this animation tool will encourage and lead to a discussion on the environment and climate change measures at the citizen level in Tuvalu. Thank you. And if there is still time, I'd like you to watch the animation.
Actually, we don't have time now, but we can, yeah, sorry, but we can send the link of your animation.
Okay.
Is it on YouTube or not?
Okay.
Yeah, it's not a problem. So, but I would like to ask a short question, okay? Could you summarize your communication strategy in few words, like how can you define your strategy, communication strategy? In few words, yeah, in few words, like easy communication, what kind of?
So, firstly, so in this session, I hope to say for the scientists, the keeping wide broader perspective is important to communicate.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, I think it's very important work with ocean literacy. Ocean literacy is the essential tool to change this decade. Thank you very much for your presentation, and sorry because we don't have much time for your video.
Thank you so much.
So for the next speaker, I would like to invite Dr. Hui Jo from Institute of Oceanology at the Chinese Academy of Science in China to explain a little bit of how to help youth to build an ocean dream, a practice of ocean literacy in China. The floor is yours.
Okay, thanks. Share my screen first. Okay. Hello, everyone. It's great pleasure to give this talk, and thanks for the invitation given by Dr. Lin Wang. I'm Hui Jo from the Institute of Oceanology, Chinese Academy of Sciences. And my background is physical oceanography. So my talk includes these three parts. First is about the introduction of our institute. IOC-WEST is the first multidisciplinary research institute in marine science in China, and it was founded in 1950. And it is located in Qingdao, a port city in East China. And our institute is also a key center for graduate education and training in marine science in China. And then I will briefly introduce the ocean literacy in practice conducted by our institute. IOC-WEST has quite rich ocean science education resources. For example, we have coastal offshore deep ocean comprehensive research vessel fleet, which are in good conditions and with advanced facilities, except the research vessel Ke 1, which was decommissioned in 2015. And now it becomes an education center for young children in Qingdao now. And IOC-WEST also has the biggest marine biology herbarium in China, receiving over 5,000 visits each year from students. And we also have 2 exhibition halls for IOC-WEST history and ocean big data presentation. Besides the on-site visiting, sometimes these 2 halls also held live and virtual tour, which attracting over 200,000 people for each activity. And the most popular activities are those conducted on board our research vessel Ke. IOC-WEST has hosted marine science camp on research vessel Ke with China Association for Science and Technology each summer. Students can learn many marine technologies, including ship structures, ocean observational instruments, sailing, and safe items on a cruise. In recent 2 years, due to the COVID-19, sometimes on-site visits are unavailable. IOC-WEST and the China Science and Technology Museum jointly hold the Marine Science City online courses. Students can watch some on-site ocean instrument operations from deep sea cruise on board of research vessel Ke by attending live streaming classes. For the local students, they can attend the on-site experiment teaching classes on mobile laboratory in the ocean. IOC-WEST also established a quite popular activities, which is Open Science Day for children in May each year. And meanwhile, we also organize different lectures covering ocean physics, geology, and biology in local primary schools. And the speakers are mostly young scientists in our institute. As the major institute of ocean science in China, IOC-WEST is the most popular institution that mainstream media wants to cooperate with for ocean science education programs, such as the Chinese Central Television. Now there are 4 popular programs, namely the Ke research vessel, modified clay treatment for red tide, the basic organisms, and the decryption of jellyfish venom. These programs are very successful in popularization of science and technology resources. We also cooperate with some companies to both explore the commercial value of our ocean science resources and attract more attention to ocean science. For example, we developed a game sim based on our research vessel Ke Xue Wan in the most popular online game in China named Game for Peace. And we also developed some culture creative products related to ocean literacy and built some foreign sculpture parks in several cities. As to me, I'm very happy attending many ocean science education activities as a physical oceanographer. You know, physics is usually not so attractive and understandable to people compared with colorful marine life. I conducted many scientific cruises in Western Pacific Ocean and served as chief scientist for 3 successful cruises. You know, female chief scientists on deep ocean cruise in China is relatively rare, and I'm seasick too. So each cruise is an adventure to me, and there were many unforgivable moments. Some were exciting and profound, and some were suffering and tough. I learned a lot through these cruises, both professionally and mentally. So I put some basic physical oceanography knowledge into my interesting experiences and share my feelings in my lectures, which is very popular. I was invited as an honored guest by a very popular inspirational show named Voice in CCTV and by many other mainstream media. So this is a privilege for me as a female scientist, and I always use this to encourage schoolgirls in my lecture. Finally, is some thoughts and actions about the ocean literacy. We know we are experiencing a climate regime shift. Extreme events happen more and more frequently in recent years. So climate change is a challenge of our generation, and it is also a crisis multiplier that has profound implications for peace and stability of human society. Ocean is key to achieving climate and societal goals. More intelligent people should be engaged in ocean science and related sciences. However, data show that the most top scorers in the college examination in China, they choose majors related to economy and management. So I think simulate interest and desire for ocean science research is more important than delivering general knowledge to the younger generations. Finally, our CAS welcomes cooperations with international scientists and organizations and would like to share our ocean science education resources and experiences. We hope we can conduct some education activities during docking of our research vessels in the future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hui. I have a quick question for you, which is in your experience, does language of communication play a part in delivering an effective message to the youth?
No, in fact, my lecture, I gave the same lecture to both primary school students and college students and even graduate students. You know, my lecture is mainly about to inspire them, I feel, to engage in ocean science and to learn what we are doing for ocean science and what's the meaning for them to do this. So it's quite popular.
Okay, but you use the same language, do you mean?
Mostly for primary school students, I may make some cartoon picture to show these ideas. Yeah, basically the general idea is the same.
I don't know, the idea is the same, but the language, how you express that is a little bit different, right?
You know, in China, even pupils, they are very knowledgeable for basic knowledge about the ocean. So mostly it's not so professional. Mostly it's about the story, some experience. For example, I lost very important instruments during one cruise, but I spent over 40 hours and found it back. So during these processes, I suffering from seasick and sleepiness. So I share this experience to them. Yeah, mostly through this.
Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, it
Thank you.
was very nice to know a little bit of the China experience on ocean literacy.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So our next speaker is Professor Ming Yang King from School of Earth Science, System Science in Kyungpook National University in South Korea. She's going to talk a little bit more science communication to the public. So thank you very much for being with us today, and the floor is yours.
Thank you, Karina. I will share my screen first. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, I will start. Hello all, this is my honor to be here as a speaker in this session in IOC Asia with my talk about the science communication to the public. I am Min Kyung Kim, Assistant Professor in Kyungpook National University, Department of Oceanography, and I major in ocean chemistry. And my old friend, Dr. Jae-young Park from KIOST, is a Korea Institution of Science and Technology. He invited me, thank again. So yeah, I will start with these words. These are keywords that I can explain about myself. Seagoing oceanographer, principal investigator, woman in science, early career, polar oceanographer, and faculty. Some are actually pretty strong keywords to communicate to public as they are closely related to the social issues. But in a global point of view, I have very little experiences to live out of Korea. I just spent around 1 year as a postdoc in Switzerland, but it is also a bit overlapped to COVID periods, as you know. But I do have a lot of connections between public and scientists around the world. As you know, we have no physical border in science actually, and would like to tell you about my experiences regarding that. So roughly, these are my main global collaborators around the world. But I will now on more focus on the age and academic stage of publics that I've met so far, like this. From primary school kids to senior scientists, I will start with the youngest group of public. So I've met kids in primary school in Melbourne, Australia, and middle and high school kids in South Korea. This is also closely related to my bachelor's degree as I majored in science education. So basically, I had some chances to meet students as a student teacher and have a big interest to share science with kids. When I had a science talk to those young generation, their main questions were like those. What is oceanography? And what did you choose this job? Why did you choose this job? And do you travel a lot? And is it a free of charge? And do I need to swim well to be an oceanographer? It's really basic. Some are pretty cute, and some are questions that I never imagined. So I think this kind of opportunity is not only good for kids, but also for us scientists to better understand what young public are curious about. Especially in Korea, we are learning oceanography as one small part of our science subject, So it is pretty necessary to directly communicate to those students tell them about what is real oceanography. And recently, I am started working as associated editor in Frontiers for Young Minds. It's a genre which is kind of my favorite genre. They just try to rewrite normal research papers to short and use simple vocabulary with pictures so children can approach to the real journal papers easier. They do have children reviewers, so this young public can actually learn how to publish a paper. I also did a YouTube lecture called Science Touch on Friday from Korea NSF. This is a program that explains about my research, especially done with Korea NSF, and most of the audience were actually focusing on the high school students, so it shouldn't be too difficult at the time. But as you know, YouTube is one of the biggest and major platforms to communicate with broad people. Certainly, I received the most fast and broad responses from parents, friends, and all the relatives. Regarding the questions I received at the time, general public was interested in my life during the cruise. Especially, I was gone every Christmas season when I joined in the Antarctic cruises. So they were happy to see this kind of Christmas trees, cakes, and party pictures. They were also interested in some facilities of the vessels, whether it's freezing cold or not, and of course ask about the penguins, but also start to ask some questions about climate change and the status of polar science and oceanography of South Korea compared to other countries. It was especially very important question for me that I felt that my talk affects something in a good direction to those people. And it is a bit narrow range of public, but I also tried to join in mentoring programs if there is chances. So I was a mentor in Korea-Switzerland exchange program, which was done by Korea NSF again. By this, we have a group chat room, and I made some new connections to multidisciplinary fields of young people. So it is not only focusing on the science, but covers all the subjects like art, history, and economy. So yeah, it was also one of the nice chance for me to meet many people in different fields. As the early career scientist, I am also a member of the APEX. You can see the abbreviations here. It is a group of people who work together for a communication with the public. So we have an annual meeting between all disciplinaries of polar sciences and have some information about summer school fundings and job opportunities. But also do some public events such as Polar Week, Antarctic Day, and some picture prizing and so on. And yeah, this is another example of my science communication with early careers. It's called DISCO. It's a dissertation symposium in chemical oceanographers. It is not a public, but a small group and similar academic stage of chemical oceanographers get together from all over the world. By this chance, I could have a group chat, email list, new collaborations, and new friends. One of the themes we discussed especially was about the woman in science, especially in our ages. Some women scientists just disappeared after married or their career stopped by having a baby. So I felt more common sense by discussing this kind of thing with them. We also actually had a game to explain our main research result without using any scientific terms. It was pretty difficult even between physical oceanographers and chemical oceanographers. By these activities, I realized that vocabulary is really important to break the wall. Well, also as the early career scientist, I made a brand new connection to senior scientists. With the funding chances of SCAR, yes, you can see here, This is the Scientific Committee on Antarctic Research, and they select 3 to 4 people a year and provide research funding. I basically heard about this COP program in Apex conferences, so this is also one of the good connections to communicate with many people, as I can get more background information by them. So I applied to SCAR with Dr. Julia Muir and Gazna Molenhauer in Avi, and surprisingly, I've never met them before and so far. So this is totally brand new connection started by this of public chances. Also, I am working with senior group of scientists a lot. One of the example is this SUS representative work is a Southern Ocean observing system. Well, my Swiss friend let me know about this program because she remembered that I'm doing something in the Antarctic, which is also a good example of building a communication. Here in this group, I am learning how to work in global networking group. Especially within this group, we are trying to organize Southern Ocean data sets and write reports, which is also one of the ways to communicate to public. So to conclude, I would like to say that science is no longer a preserve of few group of scientists. So scientists ourselves are hoping to make multidisciplinary and multinational collaborations between scientists, which is really necessary and good. But at the same time, it is also important to share our experiences to general public so more young minds are interested in our fields and we finally get more manpower by them. So I will be always happy to have connection chances to public. So please let me know if you have and let's go for it together. Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing your experience. And I will leave the question for Q&A questions for you, okay? Because we don't have much time.
Right.
We are running out of time. But anyways, we will have a space later on, okay, for questions.
Okay, thank you.
Our next speaker is Dr. Johnny Tanzi from Tropical Marine Science Institute at the National University of Singapore. She's going to talk about engaging students and community hands-on with science. The floor is yours. Dr. Okay.
Hi, okay, so I have unmuted myself now. Thank you very much to the conveners for having me here, and especially thank you to Hari for arrowing me to give this talk for this session, and to everyone here for staying very late on a Friday evening, or well, morning or afternoon or wherever you're at. I'm here to give just a little bit of a sharing. I know that everyone here is very passionate about science communication, but I think here my role is really to just share what we've done here in Singapore. Might be slightly different from challenges that's been faced in other sort of WESTPAC countries. So just a little bit more about myself. I am a researcher at the Tropical Marine Science Institute. I mostly work with corals, specifically to do with tree rings, coral rings, and looking at ecological monitoring as well as looking into reef conservation strategies. I also work at the St. John's Island National Marine Lab, so I'm part of the management team over there. Just for those of you who may not be familiar with the St. John's Island Marine Lab, it is actually Singapore's first and only marine research station. But we're very proud to have, a full set of aquarium facilities, a research vessel, research labs, and an education and outreach team, which is a very vibrant and what I will be sharing a little bit more with you about today. So for those of you who may not be familiar with Singapore, this is Singapore. We're very small, about 725 square kilometers. And the marine station where I'm based and where I work at is located in the southern part of southern part of Singapore on St. John's Island as part of the St. John's Island complex. Here you can see the marine lab. And the mission of the marine station is really as a national research infrastructure is a focal point for marine science research and education, as well as a resource for marine science expertise. We support research for strategic national needs, but most importantly is a shared resource supported by skilled personnel that's open to everyone. So researchers and students, both from Singapore as well as international. So all of you are invited to come and work at the Marine Station with us. So just a little bit more, I'm going a little bit fast because I'm mindful of the time, but moving forward here, I'm just also sharing a little bit more about myself and where I have platforms for engagement to engage students and community hands-on with science. So in addition to working at the National Marine Lab, where we do have an education outreach mission, I am also involved in the Singapore Institute of Biology, where for the past eight years, I've been actively as a council member, and the last 4 years as the president, but I've recently stepped down. I'm also a coordinator at the Friends of the Marine Park community, a member of the Blue Water Volunteers, where we coordinate reef surveys for citizen scientists as well, and an editor for the Singapore Blue Plan. So this is just sort of sharing with you, not because the fact that I have no life outside of work, but also this is where where my engagement, engaging students and community sort of focus around these groups that I'm involved in. So I think the first question is like, why engage students and community in Singapore with hands-on science? I think for those of you who have visited Singapore and know Singapore, it's very urbanized. We don't have a lot of nature and natural environment left. For instance, we only have coral reefs. We only have about 13 square kilometers left, down from about 100 square kilometers pre-1950s and 50 square kilometers from the 1950s onwards. We've lost a lot of our natural environment. And for education, engaging students, and there's a saying that you can't love what you don't know much about. And what I think is that, you can't love and trust what you don't know much about. So it's extremely important to really get students to know more about the world, the natural environment around them, because soon and even now, we face a range of environmental and societal challenges as a result of climate change and growing population needs. And for climate change education, I think is an essential element for mitigation strategies, a keystone even, and really arming a society with the right knowledge and understanding encourages changes in attitudes that will help with adaptation to climate change and related environmental disturbances, and promoting behaviors that add towards sustainability. And we have studies that have shown that connection with nature is very important for promoting good environmental behaviors, and therefore maintaining a citizenry that is more eco-conscious. And in Singapore being so urbanized, rebuilding that connection with nature and developing responsible actions and interactions with the environment is a key step in that whole sort of process. So in strengthening capacity and literacy in marine science and environment, within the capacity of the Marine Station, we have here the education outreach team. So I'm not doing this alone, it's a team effort. We do conduct hands-on, a bit more bespoke workshops for students, but also programs that are sort of set, like for instance, this STEP Environment Camp, which is a youth exchange for climate change and environmental sustainability for ASEAN Plus countries. Not only we have workshops for students, but we also have workshops for teachers, because we realize that if we don't train the teachers as well as the students, then the teachers will not, without us, the teachers will not be able to have capacity to teach the students themselves. So we have both workshops and programs for students and teachers. In order to sort of, and beyond workshops, there are also research project opportunities that we provide to engage students for deeper hands-on learning. So these learning and engagement opportunities are not just limited within for undergraduate students, like most research projects are, but this one particular, the Young Marine Scientist Award, was open to students anywhere between 17 years old to 25 years old. So pre-university, polytechnic, anyone can come in and write a proposal and then perform their research, mentored by scientists from the marine station and other sort of universities at large. And this program went for 5 years. We supported over 44 projects. And these are just some examples of the projects that the students sort of have done. But these opportunities, I'm sort of sharing a lot from the marine station, but it's not just limited within the domain of the marine station. So in the Explore Marine Science program, we work very closely with the Friends of the Marine Park community, which is where my day job and extracurricular activities converge. So the Friends of the Marine Park community consists of stakeholders from civil society, business, academia, so that's where I come in, and also the government, because the Friends of the Marine Park community is administered by the National Parks Board here in Singapore. And this network really encourages community members to really collaborate for the long-term survival of the seas. So in the instance of the Explore Young Marine Scientists program, where the students do research, we engage the students to also conduct their research in a bay that is managed by the community, administered by the National Parks Board, the government agency, but managed by this community network, where the students can come in and then conduct research, then which they will then share with the community again. And the whole idea for this is really to empower a community as stewards and custodians of a marine environment. Really, the area that they've given us to manage is a lagoon on St. John's Island, which is not much, but in the context of Singapore, it's actually a lot. And it's not just research and education that's conducted there. There's also engagement with recreation, so kayakers, scuba divers, the yachters, the boaters, as well as ex-islanders of St. John's Island. That's where the heritage portion comes in. You can see at the photos on the bottom right here, you see traditional kolek. This was actually built in Batam in Indonesia and was the traditional mode of transport for the ex-islanders between St. John's Island and the Indonesian islands. And just sort of very quickly, the Singapore Blue Plan also is an outcome of this community effort, where we came up with this document that we present to the government every decade. We had over 100 contributors. And while I've been sharing a lot of extracurricular activities, so basically, education efforts that are not within the school domain, one of the things that the Singapore Blue Plan really pushed for was the incorporation of topics on the natural environment into school syllabus and promoting science communication. This is really important because I think the engaging students, we are engaging students. A lot of us, all of us here, are engaging students after the fact. Like they're out of school, we're engaging outside of school. But I think it's really important for us to also try and get them started, early on when they're in school. So that's where the other effort that I've been involved in is actually the Singapore Singapore Institute of Biology, where we run the biology Olympiads, including the Singapore Junior Biology Olympiad, and training the team up to be sent off for the Team Singapore as part of the International Biology Olympiad, where it covers a whole bunch of topics, including ecology. But a lot of schools don't really teach ecology until they have to. They focus on things like physiology, cell and molecular biology, because a lot of students want to go to, say, medical school, that they're in the biology field because they want to go to medical school. But through the biology Olympiads, the committee and the question sectors, we try and incorporate more ecology questions, so then the students study and mug for ecology in the ecology sort of chapters as part of their studies, which then they apply for this extracurricular activity, with the hope that teachers then also help this. So I know I'm really short on time now. I think Karina's like
Yeah,
staring at me.
over time. Sorry.
Yes. But I just wanted to just finally share with you that Singapore recently just came out. The youth of Singapore just came out with a document as part of the COP26 youth sort of statement to try and push for protection of the remaining natural habitats, including our ocean spaces in Singapore, in line with global targets. So I think this is really heartening to see. And finally, I just wanted to say that just as fishes do not recognize geopolitical borders, trash, unwanted hitchhikers, microbes, nutrients, pollutants, marine issues cannot therefore be managed by one country alone, and solutions and the ocean science that inform the solutions really need to be transboundary and multilateral in nature. And this requires close collaboration. And so building the base of these relationships early, like for example, through this incubator workshop that the conveners have very nicely put together, is going to be really, really important moving forwards in this UN Decade of Ocean Science. Okay, and that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I bet we have many questions because it's very interesting, all the job you do in Singapore. But we will leave the questions for the Q&A session, okay?
No,
Thank you very much. And for next speaker, I would like to invite Dr. Intan Nurhati from Research Center for Oceanography, the National Research and Innovation Agency in Indonesia. I'm looking forward to listen more, to learn more from her, because she's going to talk about communication with policymakers, which we are not very familiar with. So thank you very much for being with us, and nice to meet you in person. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Thanks again, ECOP, for inviting and initiating. Special thanks to Karina and Mbak Tiwi here for connecting. I realize I have a bigger job because 11% of us here are comfortable with policymakers. So we still need to push ourselves. So let me share my screen. Oops. All right, my name is Intan. I'm a researcher at the Research Center for Oceanography. I'm also the Director of Communications for the Indonesian Young Academy of Science. So this whole science communication is something, for me, it's a self-learning thing. I just learned by myself, and but like many of you here, we are very passionate about science communications, and it kind of started with that way. So the basic point is we all want to have impact as scientists, young, old, or seniors. We all want to have impact, not only in the science part of our work, which we work so hard, but how it will have impact to stakeholder and policymakers. So it's important that we have this mentality, science to science, yes, from journals. Then we do a lot of science telling immediate information to stakeholders, and then we have to package our scientific publications into materials that are easily digestible. And everybody can do this no matter how early you are in your stage. But I might be talking to, preaching to the crowd here, but let's keep in mind that it is our duty as scientists. A lot of our work are funded by public funds. It's important that we educate, inform, and also more importantly is influence. We can't influence policymakers. In my field, they are policy negotiators. So to give them ammunitions for climate negotiations from what we know about the state of climate change and what kind of options that we need to take. And I know everybody's probably feel uncomfortable at the beginning when we do science communications, be that in the media or to policymakers, but it is a very important step that we all start from early on in our career. It's important that we take our scientific jacket off, and that's why we need to talk to people who are not familiar with science, because that's the only way we can step back from our understanding and really understand what they need and what kind of scientific information that they can package into action. And this whole processes and activities really opens new ways for us to present our science. And it's also important that we make mistakes. I think everybody, when we talk to science to the media or policymakers, we get this fear. What if I make mistakes? And granted, you will make mistakes, but that's the important things about starting early in your career, because you can learn a lot from your mistakes or being misquoted by media or policymakers. Because, for example, one of the tips that you have to do when you talk to the media, you tell them what you want to say, but you also tell them what you don't mean. It's very important because otherwise you can get misquoted easily. And it's a two-way street. We often think that because we're scientists, we know more than general public, but by doing these conversations, we learn a lot from them. We learn to see the bigger pictures. We often get new research directions because they ask what kind of research that we haven't done. And then also the power of media and policymakers to really make actions. Now, we can talk about policymakers, but we also have to think about stakeholders who have the ability to make actions in the ground. As we are working in developing countries, often we are being pushed to really explain our science and what's the benefit, the real urgent benefit of our science. And it's often difficult for us working in oceanography and climate science, where we need very long data before we actually can get publications, right? So for us in this situation, it's important that we design our science that it will have immediate benefit while it have a longer benefit. So I will quote this, like, let's sail as we are building the ship. So for example, is if you need a long climate data, it's probably a good idea to explore a way that the data is available to society right away. As simple as oceanographic data, as like temperature, changes in ocean parameters. But if we can make that a real-time information, and if that location is near places like marine park, national park, or places with a lot of mariculture, this is very powerful. We can have immediate data telling them right away if there is any potential for coral bleaching, so they can perhaps close the marine park temporarily. And in the meantime, we can get a lot of climate data for our science work. So this is something that we need to explore. And this is something that I learned a lot once I moved to Indonesia, because I really have to explain my immediate impact for the immediate impacts of my science. And this is often not very easy. Something that I would like to encourage, whatever works that you do, whatever papers that you do, try to make bigger impact from that paper. You work so hard for your paper. Let's not let that paper sit in your desk, okay? So let's push more. So this is just some examples of the recent papers that we did. So we got this paper published, and we always play around more with this. So we always put it in social media, make a more interesting content. You can put it on Instagram. And then there's also a lot of sort of science-focused media, like the conversations. So the conversations, actually only scientists or students who are working on their PhD can write articles on the conversations. So it's a very science-proven kind of media. So what we always do, once we publish a paper, we would contact people from the conversations and discuss about what kind of articles that we could write. And it's also important that you connect with the HR department in your institutions and make a press release. You can write the press release and pass it to them, because they have a huge network of media that they can pass it to. And this is really why how we can get a lot of impact, a lot of people listening or taking advantage of things that we want to highlight in our paper. And you can also make policy brief. Policy brief is not as intimidating as it sounds, actually. It's purely, you condense your scientific results, and then you find stakeholders, you make it into one or two pages of information and find stakeholders or your connections likely in the government that can use this. And this is something that we do, for example, in the work for marine debris. We understand we need to cut down plastic bags, but in the case of Jakarta, we also need to reduce styrofoam. So once we release our publications, we made one or two pages of policy brief and give it to the local government of Jakarta. So they have this information that the next step of regulation is not enough to stop in the plastic bag, banning plastic bag, but we have to start reducing styrofoam as well, because that's what our scientific data shows. It's very dominant in the environment. And another story is that a recent paper on, you probably heard about how the PPEs, plastic-made PPEs increased in the environment during the pandemic because we use it for masks and other types of PPEs. And we did this research in Jakarta, and lo and behold, we barely saw any PPEs before the pandemic, the COVID-19, and it just jumped right away. And we published this paper. We wrote in the conversations, and we did a press release. And one day after, and it was a New Year Eve, we got contacted by the government. But what's really cool about this, the government say, we really appreciate this. It's a good journal. It's a good paper published in good journals, but we want you to give us solutions. So it was not something on our paper, but it really pushed us to talk to our colleagues in the same institute. Hey, we have this paper. We didn't really have solutions, but you guys have a lot of technical solutions. We have this one department that do a lot of studies of research on green technologies. So less than 24 hours, we just get together, had a Zoom conversations and present the issue and then the solutions that the Institute can offer. And they actually push us to create more of this kind of papers because they want to make policies based on science. And they also push us to give recommendations. So it became a policy brief with the issues and the solutions from our institute. So I guess what we also need to highlight that it's important that institute also have some kind of ways. Every institute have public PR, so that's use them. Talk to them. So whenever you publish a paper, communicate and prepare this one-page thing to them. And some institutes also have departments. For example, now at BRAIN, we have specific department for translating science into policies. So take a look of these avenues and really use this because it can really increase the impact of your papers. And I was involved in the IPCC, the latest report for the 6th assessment report. And this is interesting because IPCCs, so in the UN, there are only two bodies. One is IPCC, which is full of scientists, and the other one is UNFCCC, which is full of negotiators. So the process should be that the science inform policymakers. So this is a very, I think, cool role of scientists, how we can give a lot of ammunitions to policymakers, to negotiators before they go for climate negotiation at the UNFCCC. So I could always see this when I work together, for example, from people from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs who go to these conferences, to the UNFCCC. I feel like I can give them a lot of ammunition so they can succeed in the climate negotiations. And I think that's just a very cool role that we, as scientists, young or seniors, can really contribute. So the basic rule is always start with good science, good solid scientific data, and always see the big pictures. We tend to see the smaller pictures as scientists because that's what we do, but make analogy, humanize your objects. I often say that the ocean is our mother because that's the only way that people can have empathy to mothers because we evolved from the ocean. So that's why it is our mothers. And oceans always protects us from all these effects of climate change. For example, it absorbs carbon from the atmosphere. and then it becomes an issue of ocean acidification. And then you also have to relate to your policymakers. Don't be so scientist. Think about their issues, their missions, their language. So when we talk about climate to negotiators, it's not enough that we say, oh, we need more data. That's our issue as scientists. But you have to talk about how they can have options or ideas to use technology and financial routes, which is what they do in negotiations, based on what you know about the state of climate change. So be the bridge between science and their world. And this takes a lot of, interactions as well. And start now. Often I hear about, oh, I'm still young, I'm so nervous, I'm an introvert. It has nothing to do with that. If you start now, you probably can make early mistakes, and you can get better and better communicators, starting with public, and then you can, as opportunities come, you can talk more and elevate the science for policymakers. So that's my experience, but that's something I learned as from experience. And I hope, and I think it will be more of the trends that young scientists now they have to talk more and be in the front of science, talking to policymakers, because we have to have science-based policy making in whatever country you live. So that's all from me. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much. I think we need to learn and not be shy, to contact and communicate with policymakers, because we really need. It's very important. And we have questions for you, but just the Q&A session, okay? Now I would like to call my friend Rafael from Iwate University, but I will give few minutes. Okay, Rafael, 5 minutes, because we are running out of time. So he's from Iwate University, and he's part of the Pisces network as well. And today he's going to explain a little bit of the Pisces science communication approach. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Karina. I tried to do it into 5 minutes. That should work. So hi, everyone. So my name is Rafael Roman, and I'm currently based in Japan. I'm also a member of IOC Asia and the Early Career Ocean Professional Group in Pisces. And I'm going to actually talk right now about their science communication approaches and initiatives across North Pacific. Okay. So the North Pacific, so Pisces is also called the North Pacific Marine Science Organization. For those of you who don't know them, it's an intergovernmental organization that was established around 20 years ago. We have 6 member representative countries, so Japan, China, and South Korea in East Asia, Russia, as well as Canada and the United States of America on the other side of the Pacific. So Pisces structure is really here to facilitate integrated multidisciplinary science projects that connect organizations, countries, and cultures across the North Pacific. It primarily functions to facilitate marine scientific collaboration and research between the member countries, and also other external partner organizations in other ocean basins, for example. But it doesn't really fulfill an advisory role. It mainly provides scientific information to the member countries. So Pisces is really a transdisciplinary organization that includes researchers from a wide variety of disciplines, from natural sciences to the human dimension of the ocean, so fisheries science, oceanography, pollution, etc. And recently there's been more focus on incorporating social scientists to work at the intersection of natural and anthropogenic systems, and more also impetus from science communication and early career ocean professional, which I'm going to talk about right now. So until now, the science communication approach from Pisces has been to synthesize scientific information through different types of publications. It could be scientific and technical reports, peer-reviewed journals, brochures, etc. Also Pisces Press, which is being published 2 times a year and allows the broader public and everyone. Actually, it's being distributed to more than 5,000 scientists across the North Pacific to kind of learn more about activities during conferences, thoughts from scientists, and etc. For example, on this one, it's basically, it talks about this, one of the first science communication workshop that happened during the annual conference in 2019. So just before COVID swept the world, and it was really successful. So people were here, they were like science communicators who came to train scientists about how to use social media to be able to communicate your research better, how to take a video, to upload it on YouTube, and many more other kind of skills that scientists were really eager to learn during this workshop. And all those different outreach materials are really the products of cross-Pacific collaborations. So in terms of social media platforms, Pisces has been on Twitter for like a little bit more than a year. It's pretty active recently, and I encourage all of you to follow the Twitter account if you're interested. There's also YouTube channels where they're uploading quite regularly recordings from past conferences and workshops. There's also more and more videos that we're trying to do right now for early career ocean professionals, but also other scientists, to upload videos about what their research is all about, what is the relationship with Pisces, and kind of help them to communicate more with not only the Pisces community, but to really kind of share their research and work with local government, NGOs, and other people that are all across the world. So a really big step within Pisces since a year now is, besides having engaged a bit more early career ocean professionals, is there's been a new science communication study group that was here to really help Pisces become a leader in marine science communication. And so the study group was really here to provide the tools and skills to more effectively communicate the importance of Pisces science. And it's become more and more important, especially within the context of the UN Decade for Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. And within this group, they really try to encourage the inclusion of practitioners, such as policymakers, but also communication specialists, so designers, videographers, and artists. And I think currently they have 1 or 2 designers from Japan who have been joining the group and helping to update the website and make visually appealing products to better communicate the scientific work from the organization. And now the big good news is like the science communication group will now probably move to what we call an advisory panel, which will allow science communication activities within Pisces to last for 5, 6, 7 years. So to better plan and implement those particular science communication activities to improve cross-sectoral collaboration and more capacity building in that matter. Quickly too, we also have a new, Pisces has an officially endorsed program called SmartNet, which is a global knowledge network for ocean science to strengthening and expanding collaboration with partners from around the world. This is an issue from the Eco magazine that was, I think, a special issue in the UN Decade. It's freely and publicly available if you want to learn more about this project that will help to leverage the voices of indigenous knowledge holders, also ECOPs, and of course, more science communication. So like, if you're interested, you can send me a message and I can I can put you in touch with a senior scientist within Pisces who work on this specifically. And then quickly, this is something we did with our early career ocean professional group. So we created flyers to spread around the North Pacific to ask people across the world, to ask like early career ocean professionals across the North Pacific to join us, depending on their commitment, depending on the commitment they're okay to put into. So basically we have different commitment opportunities, and we try to actually also spread the word in different languages. So we've been able to translate it into Russian and South Korean and in Korean as well. And it's really to reach a broader audience within each country, because as Lin Wing talked earlier, we also have problem with language barriers within the different countries in Pisces, because we have, the majority of them don't have English as their mother tongue. So we've been trying to push more for Pisces to include, to translate more and more the scientific outputs and other kind of findings on a daily, regularly during the year. And yeah, I'm done, but just to say, this is a few upcoming events to be on the lookout for. I would specifically emphasize that if you're, there's the 4th IC Pisces Early Career Scientist Conference happening next year in May 2022. Abstract is still, you can still submit your abstract until December 17th. And there is a special session on science communication, inspiration, and engagement that I will be co-convening. And if you want to talk about your experience in science communication or the methods you use, please, I would be really glad if you could submit an abstract. You have 1 month left. So yeah, that'd be all from me. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Thank you so much, and sorry to make you hurry up. But now I would like to encourage you to fill it up our feedback just to know what you learned from our session today. And from your feedback, we can improve our next workshops and activities and to provide a better better outcomes next time. So the link is in the chat box. Please fill that up, the feedback for us. I would like to invite our next, the last speaker of this session is Sunanda Narayan. She's PhD student at IIT Kharagpur in India. And I will give 5 minutes as well, Sunanda, sorry about that, to talk about the network in India.
Yes, thank
The
you.
floor
Thank you
is
so much. I'll share my screen. Is it visible?
Yes.
Okay. So I feel extremely privileged to be a part of this kickoff conference, and I'm representing the ECOP India network. So today I would be talking about some ScienComm activities in India by the ECOP network. I am a doctoral student at the Indian Institute of Technology, Kharagpur. Now, we have already talked about this. So the early career ocean professionals are a group of young researchers who are early in their careers in oceanography and elite fields. So the ECOP India mainly aims at bringing the research scholars, early career scientists across the country under the tagline, the Global ECOP, who will work towards the UN Decade of Ocean Science for Sustainable Development. Okay, so these are some of the goals that that we are working on currently. So we are working on creating awareness among all about the ocean and the need for the ocean decade. So I myself is a research scholar, so but I am working for oceanography, everything. But the thing is whether my research is contributing towards mitigating climate change, whether I am contributing towards achievement of sustainable goals is really a question is in many of our minds. So we are trying to create awareness among everybody about the ocean and the need for the ocean decade, why we need a better ocean for future generations. So this awareness network will include school children, graduate students, research scholars, and young scientists. So currently we are successful in creating awareness between the research scholars and young scientists. Now we aim to create awareness among the school children and graduate students and push them towards this oceanography and work towards a better ocean. Now, next will be bringing action and practice sustainability. Now, well, we all can practice sustainability in our daily life. Now, every one of us are working towards climate change, but how many of us are practicing sustainability? So this is very important, how each of our action can bring a lot of more changes to our earth and everything. So that is another thing that we have to look into. We have to bring action and practice sustainability in our daily life. And next is create a common platform. We all have a lot of ideas, we do a lot of research, but we have to create a common platform for exchanging these ideas and encourage children to practice sustainable options. Now, the one example I can give is that we can encourage children to use fountain pens instead of the regular ballpoint pens, which can actually reduce the number of pens that they consume in their day-to-day life and throughout the year. So I myself, I'm using a fountain pen since the last 3 years. So because of that, I realize that I have not purchased a ballpoint pen in the last 3 years, which is, I feel very great. So this awareness I can give, we can provide with the children as well. And now next is, as everybody has talked, it's the widening the network and regular communication for now and the near future. So we all have one aim, that is preserve our ocean, save it for the future generation. Now the project objective will be collectively work towards the UN Decade of Ocean Science Sustainable Goals through our research, action, and knowledge. Now, these are some of the activities that we have already conducted. So on World Ocean Day, we had released a video comprising researchers across India and their answer to how they can contribute their research towards these sustainable goals. And this was compiled with inputs from various institutes in India. And we also conducted an art contest. among kids and elders to showcase their talents. And the theme of the competition was, what does ocean mean to you? So these are some of the entries, or no, all the entries that we achieved in the children category. And all these children were less than 10 years of age. So it's very overwhelming too, and it's very nice to see children participating in such contests, and they realize what ocean mean to them. Now, Dr. T. Srinivas Kumar, Director INCO, has announced the winners of the art contest on World Ocean Day, and we have distributed the prizes to all the entries in the kids category, because they need to be motivated for future competitions as well. So we gave prizes to all the entries in the kids category, and in the elder category we have chosen the best 3. Now this is a glimpse of our video. I have given the video link here, you can go through that. Now for OceanCon 2021, which is a biennial conference conducted by the Ocean Society of India, a contest was conducted for students and research scholars to prepare a roadmap for achieving the UN Decade of Ocean Science Sustainable Goals. And the best proposals were given awards during the OceanCon 2021 conducted in August. Now, MTS India section conducted a prelude event to Oceans 22, which will be happening in Chennai in February 2022. And this event also had a lot of participation among the research scholars and kids. And this is again opened up more opportunities for young researchers. On World Ocean Day, again, we had a talk conducted by the Ocean Society of India on the topic, the Antarctic Ozone Hole and Montreal Protocol. So, and yes, we had a panel discussion on career opportunities and challenges for women in earth science. And this was well received by all the research scholars, school students, and the discussion were quite fruitful. Now, what can we do? We can cut down plastic wherever we can in our daily life, then reduce carbon footprint. Moderation is the key, minimize wherever possible. And we have to educate. We have to educate the public with whatever we know, and in a language, in a way that they can understand. Now, these are some of the future events that will be happening in India. One is the Oceans 22, and there will be an event on Women in Engineering event, which will be conducted during the conference in Chennai. And the next is National Indian Ocean Science Conference, which will be conducted in Goa in March 2022. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Sunanda, for this hard task.
I had to rush because the time was quite less. So yeah, I can answer the
everything
questions
in a few minutes. Yeah, and I know you have more to say. Yeah. But now I would like to invite Pradeep Singh from Malaysia to open the panel discussion, where we are going to make some questions, to address the questions for our speakers. The floor is yours, my friend.
Thank you very much, Karina, and thank you to all the speakers for such a fantastic event. My name is Pradeep Singh. I'm from Malaysia, although I'm currently based in Germany, and my expertise is on the law of the sea, international environmental law, and ocean governance. And part of my responsibilities is to provide and to prepare, to provide advice and to prepare delegates that attend international conferences. And I think Intan mentioned one of it, the UNFCCC Climate Change Conference, but also other multilateral meetings, such as on the Convention on the Biological Diversity, as well as, meetings at the International Maritime Organization and so on. So I provide ocean-related advice to delegates attending these meetings. And I think one of the sort of very important key message that came across all presenters, from all presenters today, is the importance of communication to policymakers, and also the importance to educate the younger generation, because they are the future leaders as well as future voters. And it's important to expose them not just to the issues and the problems that the oceans are facing, but also to sort of familiarize them with both the language of science as well as the language of policy, so that they would be comfortable working with each other. And I think, it was quite telling to see the polls earlier of how, uncomfortable most of us are in speaking to policymakers. So I guess I'm one of the sort of minorities here today, because I come from the legal policy background and not from the natural sciences. although my work requires me a lot to collaborate and communicate a lot with scientists. So I have a few broad and open questions to all of the speakers. Particularly, to ask, firstly, could you share some experiences that you had in communication with policymakers or government officials in your work? How open are they to sort of listen to what you have to say? And can you share some success stories or even occasions where you were not able to get the message across to them? Secondly, a lot of the messaging today has been in the direction of scientists communicating with policymakers. Any thoughts on the other way around? Should policymakers also be, communicating and going in the other direction? And thirdly, it's also a question that has sort of come up in the chat from Hari. How should the messaging actually be? If we really want policymakers to react, would it be more conducive to use positive messaging as to give a message of hope, or negative messaging, a more picture of doom and gloom? Or a combination of both. So, I'd be happy to hear from any of the panelists. Any thoughts, very quick thoughts, please, no more than a minute on this, especially from Intan or even Jani. I think you mentioned the Singapore Blue Plan. How has this been received by the government, as well as any of the other speakers? So floor is open, please jump in. Go ahead, Jani. I see you're ready to speak.
No, I mean, yeah. So thanks, Pradeep. Yeah. So the Singapore Blue Plan, I think it's an effort that we're trying to. It's a community effort, ground-up initiative where we're trying to engage the government. It's actually quite well received. We put forth 6 recommendations, including prioritizing areas of marine conservation in Singapore, and along with long-term funding that we will need. I see funding as a theme of in the initial talks of like how important it is for greasing the wheels for all these sustainability efforts, as well as ocean science research. It's still very much it's still slow in the pushing out, making sure that concrete outcomes come from these recommendations, because we're working on the ground, and it's dealing with policymakers, like what Intan mentioned, and all of us here have to deal with. And I feel like we're currently, the scientists and the academics are like the middle, so trying to communicate with the policymakers as well as trying to talk to the masses and the public, and then trying to get everyone to come to some sort of concrete actionable items. And I find that the most difficult. And one of the things that I had put in the survey was how better was to ask maybe how better can we find, we've talked a lot about how to deal with policymakers, but is there also a way to message things effectively to the masses as well? We deal a lot with students, we're comfortable with students, but these are the average Joes, the uncles and the aunties, the makciks and the pakciks, at the restaurant, at the mama shop or whatever. How can we then engage them as well? Because I do feel that at the end of the day, we're kind of like preaching to the converted, and we tend to be like quite a small minority at the end of the day. But 80-90% of the rest of the population are these the pakciks and makciks that may not care. So I think the greatest challenge for the Singapore Blue Plan is not really trying to engage the government at this point. For us, is trying to engage sort of the masses to come on board.
Yeah, thank you for that, Jani. And I think if you get the masses on board, that would sort of, compel the government to come to the table as well. And I think, the biggest problem that I have always faced is this sort of, policymakers always saying that we need to find middle ground on certain issues. And the problem with that is on some matters, there's actually no middle ground. Science is really clear on certain things, but it's still very difficult to get the policymakers to come on board and to act, as we also just saw in the recent COP meeting. So thank you for that. And maybe then finally, since we're running out of time, could I invite Intan to maybe quickly address the third question? on these sort of type of messaging that should be used. And of course, if you have any other quick thoughts, please go ahead. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks, Pradeep. Yes, I guess the main point is that we have to be in their shoes, right? We come from a scientific background. We are scientists, but in the end, it's what kind of scientific message that we can use to help them. So when we talk about policymakers, though, it's important that there are different kinds of policymakers. They are local government, which tends to need solutions locally. So you have to not just raise the issue, but also offer options that they can take as real actions. So that's very important to be in their shoes. Now, in our scientific paper, we may not have solutions because it's very scientific, but it's important that we dig more into this issue, what kind of solutions, and perhaps what kind of regulations that are in place now that could be improved. So that's why I said we have to be the bridge. We have to be in the middle. We cannot be in our science camp. We have to kind of move a bit. And then also there are other kinds of policymakers. Pradeep mentioned about people who go to COP. And also there are different people on this group as well. There are people, for example, from the Ministry of Environment. Their issue is, of course, to look at the impacts, what kind of loss and damages. So those are the information that they need, that we need to supply. Whereas for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we have to keep in mind that when it comes to foreign affairs, it's not just a matter of environments. There's an economics, there's a geopolitical. So you have to get their mind. Okay, what are you trying to achieve, and how science can be part of it? But it's important that the government that you support is also environmentally minded government. I guess that's without saying. It's important we know their head, their missions, because we also don't want science to get cherry picked into something that we all don't hope to be. So I guess the basic message is think about their roles, what they need to achieve, and mix with what kind of scientific information you can help to reach this good cause that they're trying to do.
Thank you very much, Intan. That's fantastic, and I can also personally relate to it because in the sort of roles that I perform in providing advice to delegates, and it usually gets very well received with the environmental ministries, but then later on when it's sort of being brought together in the whole sort of wider delegation with influence from the economic and foreign affairs, things, the dynamics are quite different. So thank you very much. I would like now to hand over again to the conveners, to Karina and to Hari to then take us to the end of this session. Thank you very much, all speakers and panelists.
Hello, can you hear me? I had a problem with my video right now. Thank you, Pradeep, to moderate this session. And I would like to to tell you guys, if you want to join us, the ECOP Asia, so I just sent the email so you can contact us. It's very interesting for us to have more people on board, to make more activities under the UN decade in this region and develop more this network, and to support more ECOPs, as many as possible. So, and also I would like to say thank you to all people involved in this workshop. It was amazing, and I hope we can work in collaboration in the future. So, Hari, do you have something to say?
No, I would just like to reiterate, thank you everybody for participating. I think it's been a great set of talks, and I particularly enjoyed all of them. And I think the survey results are showing the same too. So probably we'll publish this later and you can see that. But thank you for all the discussions and the feedback.
And also, if you can turn on your camera, if it's possible, to take a picture, a group picture, it would be very nice to see your face as well. Unfortunately, my camera is not working, but it's okay.
Admin, are you ready? Okay, we don't hear from the admin, but I think we can take a picture ourselves.
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Okay. Okay, so we're in chat group photo together. Just 1, 2. All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone, and have a good day. See you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Harry, thank you very much. Nice organizations.
Oh, it was